All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Huskers Happy Hour. I got to tell you, not trying to pat myself on the back or anything, but I watched that intro and it just gets me kind of jazzed up and ready to go for this. I always love seeing the shots of Mike Rozier like holding the Heisman and then putting his little move on there. That guy just kind of oozes style, doesn't he? Both on the football field, and he always just seems like one of those guys that dresses better than I ever cared to or could dream of if I did. It's just always cool seeing him. Um, God, ready to go tonight. Charged up, already went in, had some Abelardo's tacos and Mexican rice. Went and brushed that out of my teeth so you didn't have to look at it tonight. And got some news today, didn't we? We'll definitely talk about that. Let's see. Who won the get in first when I post the show to YouTube Live? Looks like Highlander Gun got in there first. Fred Sacco second, threw in a fire Satterfield. Yeah, we'll talk about it. It looks like that's gonna happen soon. Justin Rogie got in third. Carl Pence got in fourth, but just went with Save the Huskers, Fire Satterfield. And then for the show, Justin Rogie jumps in and gets in first, followed by Melissa Gitchell. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Welcome, Melissa. Justin welcomes you as well. Braska Rascal here. Good evening, Corn Nation. James Boardman, glad to see James again. Yeah, Rozier was power and speed. I also like that shot, and I believe they wore the same number, where we have Frost running it, leaning left a little, and Amon Green's lead blocking to the right, and it looks like he's getting low and powerful. I did actually spend some time pouring through the pictures to use in that. I hope I chose well. So tell you what, let's just start with a few fun things before we dig into UCLA and the hiring of our new offensive consultant. One guy I kind of want to point out is we have a photographer that works a few games, Stephen Bruce. He worked the first 3 home games, then he did the UCLA game. I believe that's his last home game of the year, but he may have mentioned getting out to Southern Cal to try and shoot games there. Let's hope so. I just wanted to take a sec to throw up some of Steve's photos from this weekend. Just really good shots. Let's see. Let's start with this one here. Here's Brian Buschini, beautiful catch there, just right at the height of the follow through, toe pointed skyward. Heinrich Harburg on the run, mid stride. You can even kind of feel the speed. I had to do a double take there. I was kind of wondering which receiver it was, and then had to remember it's Harburg, kind of flashing the guns a little. Now, Dante Dowdell has kind of made his name like running for power this year. Big guy, 220 plus, but he is athletic as hell. And seeing a couple of the photos of him from this game reminded me of the recruiting picture they took when he was in town with Dylan, and they've got like Dylan Raiola on the ground kneeling or something, or sitting, and Dowdell is just skying about 6 feet over him, in like a mid-air Heisman pose of some sort. So let's see. I think this is him here. Yeah, there he is, like jumping over a pile and trying to hold on to the ball. I think we had another one of him in midair. Yeah, and there he is trying to go over a tackler there. So for a guy that that I've seen mostly from a distance this year, there's a lot of athleticism to go with the power. Really wish he could get out of that second level though, man. He seems like he is just on the verge of breaking it and hasn't quite done it yet. Let's see what else we got here. Got Jamal Banks, beautiful shot there, mid catch, snagging it out of the air. Let's see. Oh, and hey, let's talk about how they don't miss holding in the Big Ten some more. He gets a lot of good shots of the holds, and I know he's looking for them. We got a couple of Ty Robinson there. There's one of them where he's by the guy. They're just reaching around and grabbing him. And here's one where it's looked like he got his right arm loose of one dude, and here's another dude who's from the side, kind of behind him, and just has a hold of the collar there. Good shots. Once again, thanks to these guys. I think in my recap, I had that guy going, "Those bastards! They're playing Send in the Clowns again." Well, stop being clowns, and we won't play send in the clowns, even though they don't. Here's Ja'Cory Barney with a leaping grab. Let's see, what else do we have here? And there we are, finally getting to the quarterback. It took a few, make a note here, it took a few drives, and then we finally shut them down for the rest of the day. I believe that they drove right through for their first for scores on their first 3 drives, and then we actually stopped them and forced punts on 5 of the last 6. So yeah, nobody was ready to play when the gun sounded. Let's see what else we got here. Whoop, showed you that one. That another one, I believe, is that Nayor. It's 18, I believe. Let's see. Let me get James. No offense, just let me get James's quote off there. And then I got a couple in there. Here's one from the press box that it was just a great day for college football since the rain never came. It was mid-50s. This was the first day I spent some time in the stands with Miley, my daughter, her boyfriend Connor, and Connor's dad Doug. And I spent the first half with them. I felt bad. They got us these tickets, Connor and Miley, as a Father's Day gift back in July, and when I didn't realize I'd be in the press box all year. So I meant to spend first and second half, run up to do the second half or the first half recap, then come back down, run up again to do the final recap. And by the time I got done with the second half recap, tried to get some tweets up. There's about 9 minutes left in the third quarter, and it's quite an adventure getting from the press box to North Stadium. I did get one shot. It's basically you come down the elevator, you head back. There's no direct line to the field. The underneath the West Stadium there's no way to get to the stands from the gate 7 that we go through as press. So I had to go underneath. We go through all this student and technology center stuff for the athletes. That's underneath West Stadium's kind of their hangout where they've got all kinds of places to do different things. And I pop out. You finally get to this door down in the corner, and I walk out a door, and I'm standing next to the band getting ready to go down to the field. I head over to the gate where I'm supposed to meet the guys, and I'm like, then I'm standing there, and here's the line of fans because that's where the players come out onto the field. So neat experience. I didn't make it back down for the second half. Hung out with them at the rail yard for a while afterwards, so I wasn't hopefully too horrible of a father. But anyway, yes, Steve Bruce does a hell of a job with the photos. Let me go real quick to the polls I did. I like to show you guys the poll results from my column, the 24-hour rule. Usually comes out, I think it's been Thursday, the Thursdays this season. I'm going to try and get one out tomorrow just because there's so much to chew on, and I kind of want to be done for the week with a bye week. Let's see. Where are my polls? Okay, here's one poll. This was, remember, before the UCLA game. We're going to be doing a different version of this, or get different answers and a different version of this in this week's column. What is your bowl eligibility confidence level heading into Saturday? And the winner with 44% was, and this is kind of where I landed. I've been here before. I feel we're now playing well, but I've been disappointed before. We should win, but a loss will not shock me. Guess what? We lost. Wasn't shocked. Both in the 24-hour rule, then in the How to Watch column on Friday, I tried to warn people this was going to be a close game. I said UCLA literally has played the number 1 toughest schedule in the country up till now. After their opening, where they squeaked by Hawaii, which didn't impress anyone, they went on a 4-game stretch of LSU, Indiana, Oregon, Penn State. So 4 ranked teams, probably going to have 3 of those 4 in the top 10 this week. I can't remember how LSU did Saturday. They're knocking on the door just outside of the top 10. So I was saying their numbers might be a little skewed by the level of competition they're playing. And unfortunately, I was right. And I wasn't expecting the way it played out, which we'll get into. I was just saying we're not going to go. This is not as bad a team as you think. And our 2 common opponents we had, Indiana and Rutgers. Well, Rutgers beat UCLA, or they beat us a hell of a lot worse than they beat UCLA. I think us by 49 and UCLA by 29. And we beat Rutgers by 7 and UCLA beat them by 3. So, I was just saying this sounds like a nose to nose. I didn't know they were going to play 2 completely different halves, but Yeah, close one, and we lose. That's the safe bet. In my recap, I use that phrase that Matt and the players and the coaches say they can't stand. Here we go again. I hate to say it, but until you change that narrative, it's here we go again. It's another one score loss for bowl eligibility. And what have we had now? Three straight. We lost four in a row last year to miss a bowl game, and with a 5-1 start, we've now lost four in a row, or what? Three in a row. Three in a row. So we're 5-4. We got three left, and those are winnable and those are losable. And can we pull one out? I'm sure we'll talk about that today. Anyway, and here's the second poll I did. While we're still pissed at refs, they had their moments at UCLA, but they eventually, other than they refused to call holding, didn't become the complete narrative in the second half of the game. So anyway, while the foul, clownish behavior passing itself off as refereeing in the Big Ten was finally spotted nationally and rightfully derided, the conference apparently cared not at all which post-game action or inaction by the Big Ten was the most egregious. 37%, with a laundry list of blown calls, no calls to choose from in the Husker Ohio State game. Insult the intelligence of everyone with unimpaired eyesight. They only had one bad call, and that was the Emmett Johnson third down mark. Sorry. Okay. That was almost just like a slap to the face to go, oh, yeah, we really admit that was wrong. Well, probably wasn't even the worst marking job. It was just the most egregious. And then second place, Ryan Day, 32%. After getting a warning, and a flag comes flying in when he threw that headset, was out middle of the field, throws the headset, having a pissy fit because one call finally doesn't go against him. And for the exact same thing Matt Rule did, and a flag flew, and then they said sideline warning. You don't flag sideline warning, I don't think. You just tell them sideline warning. No, somebody flagged him for that and was told, no, you're picking that up. We're not going to do that this week. So yeah, nothing to show for that. And then Arvell Reese, who was ejected for targeting, I think got to suffer a day and a half suspension. They overturned that on Monday morning. And then finally, speaking of the students, unlike the SEC, which fined Texas, and this is what how the SEC reacted to Texas trash throwing pissy fit that got a call overturned, which fined Texas $250,000, demanded they use stadium video to identify the violators and ban them from the events for a minimum of a year. The B1G's response was nothing. We have no interest in pursuing any of this. And just to let you know what all this is doing right now, Clemson had a big bottle trash throwing pissy fit of their own because of an onside kick. I thought it was like I saw one tweet said they were booing that Dabo called for it and they didn't get it, or they were booing the team for not doing it. Doesn't matter. It's now a 3-week trend because of Texas and the fact that the refs rewarded that behavior, and maybe egged on by the Big Ten choosing to do nothing about fans throwing stuff on the field. Now it just seems like every week some student base is just going to throw shit all over the field because they're in a bad mood about a call or whatever. Literally the only one that stuck before was against Colorado under Callahan when they were the Big 12 North champs, and we were 17-point underdogs or so, and then stomped them 37-3 or something like that. And their students threw crap on the field. And literally, here's the thing. Nobody gets kicked out in any of these other 3 games. In that game, when it happened in Colorado, they came down and just booted the student section. Everybody in this section, you're out. And boom, done. So anyway, good work by the officials. But yes, deemed most egregious was insulting our intelligence by pretending the mark on the Emmett Johnson first down was the only one. So anyway, there's our polls. Tell you what, one more thing. Let me show you some. I figured I'd show you some of our Corn Nation tweets if you don't catch them during the game. I am one of our Corn Nationers. I'll tell you which ones were mine, but just the stuff that kind of captures the mood of what we were going on with here. This was me. Here we are on the 1-yard line. We're catching it in the gun, and I don't care if the quarterback's running it or the running back's running it. Why are we doing that out of the gun on the 1 where we're starting from a complete stop 5 yards or 4 yards back or so, and then give their time plenty of time to get in, screw up whatever hole we're trying to open. Take it under center and sneak it, or let him hand off and running back hit the hole on the run. And no, I'm not trying to be an offensive genius here. It's just baffling. Now, one thing I'll say is they did. One of my big beefs is why is Dominic? I'm gonna do this till whenever the kid leaves, graduates. Dylan Raiola isn't allowed to pass inside the 10. They finally let him. He hits Nyor, but it was just baffling me. It's like, why are we just taking that completely out of the gun? We've got a guy with nice touch, and we're having trouble inside the 10. Why are you taking the ball out of his hands there? I don't know. This was one. I can only guess who did this, but it wasn't me. It's really sad watching literally every other team in football that has plays they can reliably run in the red zone and score touchdowns. It is. It shouldn't be that tough. It's frustrating, and expressing our frustration. This is me. I actually made the vow this week: no more shots until bowl eligibility. And as I said, this frustration might prove to be one hell of a health benefit over the next few years. That is not me in the gift throwing that last shot over her shoulder. Obviously, that's not me. However, if she sees this and would love to have shots with me at a tiki bar, I will make an exception to that promise for that. So in case you're watching this, thank you, hon. And then finally, here's one just one I forwarded on. Southern California is flipping quarterbacks. Miller Moss is not going to start. Instead, Jaden Maivia, and I believe he was if I'm remembering correctly, he was a transfer from UNLV who committed first to Georgia and then flipped that over to Southern Cal. He's a dual threat QB, and as somebody responded to that, oh, great, we usually do so well with dual threat quarterbacks. And yeah, I prefer the old stand-up Peyton Manning kind myself. But anyway, few tweets. Let's check some comments, and then we will jump into a review of UCLA, and let's see what we got. Let's see. Rozier's power and speed. There's where we left it. Fred Sacco, Dana Holgerson, offensive consultanator. Yeah. I don't think. Well, we'll just see. We'll see how that plays out, won't we? Yeah. Heinrich Harburg looks like an electric football player mold. Good call. I don't know if this is one of those things where I'm going to sound like an old fart no matter what. I just don't know if electric football has even been a thing, or maybe it's something they sell on like the old timey pages of Amazon or something. But that was the most like game every kid wanted, where they could paint up their players, and just the dumbest thing on earth to actually play. You had to have all sorts of rules, because every now and then your guy with the ball would spin around and go the other way. And there was a rule that if he went like 10 yards back on the little buzzing field, then you could stop, turn him around, and then turn it back on. There was the whole. I don't know if I ever had a game that went more than 6 plays, honestly, because you were going 11 players, and you were like putting. We're out there running we're running the air raid kind of deal in the spread before it was there, because you would take turns putting the players on the board, hit the switch, and let's go. And I can't even remember all the little stupid rules we have. Only that's a bunch of them. Let's see what else we got. Well, yeah, Harburg's been trying to hop over, and it's weird because he's not quite built for the power at end. I mean, he just has to be every other quarterback, put his shoulder down, try to find the hole to knife through, or lay on his lineman, follow him, that kind of thing. He's maybe, if he takes it in the gun, he's only getting the run up after the defense has had a second and a half to get going and blow up the pile. So I don't think those are going to work anymore. James Borden, he wasn't jumping on over Gibson pile. Boom. Good one, James. This week I remember this is my son, Drew, using my college nickname, or at least in my fraternity, where, as I said, I lucked out and didn't get one of those nicknames that you don't want anybody repeating in public. Having to watch that game and spend time with Miley, that sounds like cruel and unusual punishment. Well, Miley, if you're watching, feel free to respond, or you even have the ability to pop on in if you like, probably. Oh no, Fred, I'm not saying the band camp one. I Fred wore his "There Is No Hope" shirt all day Sunday. Now I've got one of the "Fuck Everything, Go Big Red" shirts, but I got one of the ones without "There Is No Hope" because there's always hope. It's just none of it's being rewarded for years. So at least I had my "Fuck Everything" shirt on. I might have to leave that off. It started off on a nice little winning streak last year, and even included. I think I wore it for when we got together at the bar at like 9 a.m. for the World Cup, and I was cheering on Argentina because screw the French, and then that ended up being actually one of the better games in any sport I ever watched. But it's hit a skid now, and I think it just has to be left off at least for the remainder of the year, unless I just want to wear it and do a Randy Quaid type meltdown from Major League 2. Screw this mild thing, the get jacked on thing, yeah, whatever. Let's see. Fred Sacco, middle name is Lawrence. Lawrence, what, of Arabia? Oh geez, now I'm on a true movie streak because I'm hearing Gunnery Sergeant. Oh, what's his name from Full Metal Jacket when he was calling another pile, Lawrence of Arabia. Lawrence, what are you, Lawrence of Arabia? Let's see. Hey, the jokes are flying now, Fred. Wonder if Rule caught Pile with a jelly donut. What else we got here? Yep, Tiger Shark threw in the private pile. This isn't a bad one you can use on TV. James Boardman says the act of throwing junk on the field shall be known as Texas trash. Why not? Not that bad. Oh God, no, Fred. We're just gonna move on. Well, here you go. We're going to use the fullback proceeds to line up in the gun in multiple goal line plays. Brilliant. Well, and here's the thing. I just often wonder if this whole we get inside the 5 and we're just going to run it right at you like Nebraska did. And no, we flipped to the tight end. We ran misdirection. We did, they think because every now they tell the story, and I can't remember if it's like Zadiska or Graham or Wiegert or one of those guys. And they tell the story, and I'm sure they did this. Where they'd say they'd go up to the line, tell them the play's coming right at you. There's nothing you can do about it. They didn't do it every snap. They didn't do it every single time. Osborne had quite the complicated blocking scheme. As I read at one time, I believe they'd call the play in the huddle, then say the center, like Aaron Graham, would go take a look around. And he'd call out the blocking scheme, like there was a play call, and then take a look at the defense, and then call how we're going to block it. And yeah, that's not simple. We're just going to line up and roll you stuff. So I hope that's not where they're going with this. I don't think any fan really before the game they better use a bunch of Baron Liebentritt today. And no offense to Baron Liebentritt, but it doesn't mean we're going I formation again. That I don't know. Got me a little. Every time I think of inside the 10-yard line, now I'm starting to get that twitch going. This defense, what's funny is not many of our defenses have stopped the running QBs. We've had trouble with mobile quarterbacks, even going back to like the 95 team. We had quarterbacks that could run a little on us. I think that's just an advantage of having a running quarterback, unless you've got one of those Miami fast 90, late 80s, early 90s defenses. It's baffling to Satterfield also. He doesn't understand why the defense isn't baffled too. Let's see. Yeah, Jade Maivia, the tribal chief. Yeah, you know what? I haven't looked that up to see if he's like, what was it? Rocky came before he was the Rocky. He was Rocky Maivia. I think his grandfather was Count Maivia, and Dad was Rocky Johnson. But that's what I'm wondering. I mean, Maivia might did the Samoan area. Maivia might be a Wilson or a Smith too. I don't know. Phil Snow is here to stop the RPO. I believe he was Rule's defensive coordinator at Baylor and with the Carolina Panthers. Melissa Gitchell says she heard Satterfield sold the house and sent his family packing. If true, I mean, it might be one of those things where the decision's been made, but Matt Rule is not going to flay anybody publicly. He'll maybe it is a case. My personal thought was we'll see him, still kind of doing it through the end of the season. If we do get one more win, then maybe it's announced that Thomas or Holgerson is doing it for the bowl game. I don't know. I don't know. Or maybe he just saw the writing on the wall and he's resigning, but I don't think he'd do that because I believe you have to get fired or at least have the deal done to get your walking away money the rest of your contract. And he'll, like many, not just at Nebraska, but like many, and we've had much experience with it. You do get to walk away with cash when you get canned. Let's see. Matt Hansen says, late to the show, but holy crap, what was that UCLA game? Holgerson, really? Yeah, it's Matt Hansen. It's been a busy couple of days. Tell you what, I was gonna bring this up during the Holgerson talk, but let's say it now. It does show. We were all wondering: is Matt Rule going to be like some previous coaches and put his buddies ahead of what's best for the program? The guy who truly drove himself into the ground with it, I think everyone will agree with me on this, was Bill Callahan with Kevin Cosgrove. That got to the point of ridiculousness. And I told people that Bill Callahan, I don't know about still here today, but Bill Callahan could have very well been here a very long time. His offenses were becoming consistently top 20 or 25. So the offense was in a good place. Top 20 or 25 doesn't sound too bad right now, does it? It's just that thing when things went wrong with the defense, they were so horribly, inexplicably, and inexcusably wrong. My best example was that it was this Oklahoma State game. I believe we were down 35-7 at the half. Every running play was worst result possible, was running 7, 8, or 9 yards and out of bounds untouched. And I came to find here later, who knows how true it was, it sure as hell looked like what was going on. And I couldn't just quickly go and replay it on Twitter at the time, or maybe I couldn't, I just hadn't gotten to Twitter yet. But it was this idea the guy had where he goes, here's what he was told is that Cosgrove had told the linebackers and the D-backs on every snap to drop back like 3 to 5 steps and read the play. So they were essentially giving about a 10-yard cushion behind the line on every single play. And it 35 points by halftime, it sure felt that way. And I think they took it easy in the second half, maybe only ended up with 42 or 45. But that was when we thought we were heading to 70. I remember this because a buddy and I went to Tanner's for that game and got one of those little like beer tankards where, it sits like a keg on top of a little cannon spigot. Well, I mean, it's nicer than that. That's just kind of the design. And you just fill it from your mini keg. And there's a lot of beer in there. And the two of us finished that thing off by like the end of the third quarter. I'd like to say I'm not proud of it, but I was pretty proud of that. And it definitely made the game painless. Let's see. Says, no, there isn't any hope, Andy. Don't make this a house of lies. There's always hope. The hope's just unrealized a lot, and in some cases stupid. Melissa Getchell, we're cursed. That's read my column. I'll get it out tomorrow because I actually am going to do a little deal on like what is really wrong, which honestly could be an entire article, an entire series of articles, probably a damn book if somebody wanted to, drive the state, talking to everybody, talk to players, former players, blah, blah, blah. And I just keep thinking of this one scene from Friday Night Lights where after Odessa Permian loses to Midland Lee, and then they're driving to the undisclosed truck stop for the 3-team coin flip to see which two get into the state playoffs because the 3-way tie for first. The quarterback looks over to Coach Billy Bob Thornton and just says, "Are we cursed, Coach?" And they have a happy ending there. Right before he flips the coin, Billy Bob turns to his QB and says, "There ain't no curses, son," and they end up getting in. Well, we've lost every coin flip there, so we'll see. But yeah, who knows? It wouldn't surprise me if this is what finally proves there's magic and curses and demons and all that, and they're going, because look at Nebraska, for God's sake. It's like, I think the only family more cursed than ours right now. Oh, what they just made the movie about them, the Von Erich family. Now that was one cursed family. We're not there yet. Let's see what we got here. I'd still like that. So it's a house of lies. Yeah, let's see. Will Holgerson cut his hair? No. Why? Yeah, Justin Runge. Why would he? Hell no. Let's see. Phil Snow just worked for Rule, but oh well. Yeah, he did. But we'll see. It feels like he's the one. There's not really so much of a problem on defense because they got their mojo. They recovered in that game, and just the whole team wasn't ready to play. Now, some people go, "Hey, coaches, you got to get them fired up." And I will tell you, I believe this 100% as a former hockey coach. I always enjoyed the locker room speeches. I like getting them a little pepped up. But I even told kids as young as 11 or 12, it's up to you to get yourself fired up. Let alone a Division I football player. I think it was about 11 or 12, because I read psychologically, that's where kids, even though they still look like baby faces, their brains are starting to mature and they're becoming old enough to understand more complicated, like psychological stuff like that, like concepts like that. If you tell them, hey, it's up to you to get yourself ready to play mentally. You might have to work on that for a while, but at the end of the day, if you're going out flat, then that's on the player. That's like, I'm going to do my best to fire you up. But when you're tired in the second, late in the second period, trying to get to an intermission for a breather, you're not going to fire back up because of something I said to get you juiced up before the game. Okay. Division I football player, and sure, coaches, get them ready, get them emotionally ready to go, but players, on you. So anyway, I see my kids are texting right now. I might have to take a look at that, talk about that on the show, and see if Miley saw herself getting jerked jerked around there by Drew. But yeah, Holgerson, leave the hair, man. I want the ball with long hair, man. Let's see. Just run a fucking bootleg with Raiola. They'd never see it coming because we never do it. Yeah. Bootlegs are pretty easy, and you don't have to be the fastest QB in the world. And all of a sudden, hey, now they can't just blast the line with 7-8 guys every time. Our defense is 22 in the nation. Yeah, and that's after a nice little stretch of games of our own. The defense is okay. Indiana's looking like the outlier. Indiana's looking like the outlier there because Ohio State went fine. That was a number 6 defense. Slow start to UCLA, but I'll tell you, they got it back together. And I don't want them to be bend but don't break all the time. Well, they broke for 3 drives and then they got it back. It wasn't like, hey, they went down to the 25, but we stopped them and they missed a field goal. No, they drove right the fuck down the field 3 times, but turned it around. Let's see. I don't know what that means. Oh, geez. Hi, Chief. Not like Randy Gregory, Peter Mike Villa. What's this? It was beautiful from Thu0. It was beautiful watching Bielema, well, we just call him Bert, go after the Resch unproven cornerback and exploit our weaknesses while Sat flips a coin to decide what play to call. Well, I believe that was Deshaun Foster, but yeah, they did do that. We were short in the defensive backfield again. And yeah, here we go. I remember when Billy Callahan said he was bringing Kaz with him. I watched a bunch of Wisconsin games, saw his defense, and was like, yeah, we're fucked. Oh, brother. Meant the enemy. Yeah, offensive coordinator, the enemy. No worries, to 0. Let's see. I was like, Bert. We've already dealt with Bert, or he dealt with us. Yeah, Holgerson's hair is his strength. He's the Samson of offensive coordinators. As much money as they now make, we shouldn't need to fire them up. I don't even put money in it, to be honest. It's for no money. I expect you to fire yourself up, but come game day, I don't expect you to worry about your money. And everybody's acting like, and just so you know, it's like I come down 100% on the side of players getting played. They're paid. They're probably, with all the money in it, some of them are probably still getting underpaid. And then I think what they said, the spread they're going to pay players is like 90 football, 10 basketball. And for the money they bring in to have other sports, yeah. Sorry. To me, it's just always been ludicrous that the guys everybody that are tuning in to see are the guys that a lot of people think shouldn't get any benefit of all this cash flying around. Pay the players. You'll never hear me griping about that, because I believe there's responsibility comes with that too. Now you're in a situation where the coach can come up to you and go, think it's time for you to enter the transfer portal, because the transfer portal is, from as I understand it, not that far off from a 50-50 proposition, where it's as much guys who are looking for playing time. And to be honest, if you got a guy who's on a D1 team, took his shot, and they've been told you're not in our plans, do you want to spend the last 2 or 3 years, you don't know what's going to happen, but do you want to spend the last 2 or 3 years practicing, not getting on the field, or, on a Power 5 team, or do you want to head down to Division 1 AA, Division 2, 3, and just go play football because it's the last time you're going to play? That's one thing that I think it just formed in my mind after both Grant Wisdom and Trev Albertson said if they could do it over again, they wouldn't have left after their junior year. Yes, there was a ton of money there, at a time when they weren't being played, but they wanted that year back of playing college football, because they didn't realize how not fun the NFL was going to be compared to college. They said college football was like the last time they had playing fun. And if you play, however long you play, full padded football, whether it's high school or college, or the NFL, once you take those off for the last time, you're not going to join a rec league on full tackle football anymore. Maybe there's a few around. I really haven't heard of anything beyond flag football for adults, but the sentiment I got is that's the one sport, man, that once you're done, you're done. I mean, even hockey, there's adult hockey leagues, even, multiple of those in Omaha. You can keep on playing hockey. There's still a few places that'll let you check, but yeah, the tackle football is over when it's over. Let's see. Let me see. Get through a couple more here, and then we'll get going. Let's see. Senior leadership needs to take ownership and fire up the team. Unfortunately, these seniors have been beaten and broken by the previous staff. Yeah, I hear the right things from those guys. Ty Robinson seems to genuinely want. I mean, he's desperate for this bowl game. He wants to be known as like the first class, as part of the first team that brought it back. So I'm going to hurt for if they don't get it done. Like Jamari Butler, it was something he said after the Indiana game was, and this was, what I said, hey, maybe a little too much honesty, but he said that, man, he's like, it just felt like once things started going wrong, we just lost confidence. But then what did he do? And, some people got on about it. Like, some of the good old boys want, give your all in a second, never say die. It's like, well, easy to say, and you're not playing. He came out the next week against Ohio State, and I would say played like a man possessed, had a hell of a game. So he was honest about it, and he did something about it, and I respect him for that. Let's see what. Alan Saunders. This is what I've been saying. Satterfield's offense is so vanilla. If I'm a defensive coordinator, I'd love to scheme against it. I've said if I'm up in the press box and we're muttering plays to each other and they're happening out there, I got to believe guys that do this for a living, work the ridiculous 80-hour weeks watching film of the other team, probably don't have much problem seeing it coming either. But must have been maybe that's why the Michigan game was really as bad as it was. Not only did they have all our plays, when they didn't have them, they still had them. Jeez. Yeah, Husker Bob says, rule says Sats will still call plays. Thing is, it's Holgerson that will be mic'd into the QB helmet calling the play that's run. Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out. Interesting. Yeah, the QBs need some help. I don't know that Thomas is exactly shining in glory either. Alan Saunders, we have to remember the only money most football players will earn from football is NIL money. And remember what NIL money is, folks. It's making money not off the team, just off their name. And, they usually can't where except for some of the, big name guys doing national commercials, then all of a sudden the school's okay with them letting them use the school logo. But no, this is just stuff that any other person, if they can pull it off, can do. And who's, over 18 in the US isn't. I guess kids can damn do it online if they're making money on social media now, but it's just them making money off their own name. It's not advertising money. It's $0 is still paid to these players right now by the school. That might be changing quick while they're still trying to hammer out that House of Representatives agreement. But as of now, it's still zero coming to them from the school. So they're technically still not getting one piece of the actual football money. They're just now finally allowed to do something they should have been allowed to do in the first place. Let's see. James Boardman says Gifford runs around like a cat chasing a laser pointer. It feels like he's getting it back, though. He's been, not the first 3 drives, but his tackling numbers are lighting up again like they did last year, where he was off to a slower start. Let's see. Husker Bob, I don't think he said that directly. Yeah, I think all they agreed today is that Holgerson's coming. And one thing I remembered, that was happening this summer, was they were actually in talks this summer to add Holgerson as a consultant. And then I think what happened was, because Holgerson's on like a $15 million payout from Houston that's, I think, going out in pieces annually. So anything he makes is just money Houston doesn't have to pay him. So at that point, maybe he was like, well, I can do jack shit and make the same amount of money. And now maybe he's sat around for part of the season watching and doesn't want to be on the sidelines anymore. And and if it happens, I don't want to say worms his way, but if it happens that there's a change made, he seems to be, at the front of the line now for offensive coordinator job next year. I read this too. Hold on just a second, Melissa. First dry mouth of the night, Propel. And if that was vodka, I would flinch more. I've read that too. Somebody else had said they heard the defenses are reading our tackles. And I was just thinking of the movie Invincible with Mark Wahlberg. Is it now flipped where they're saying, hey, now you know what the offense is doing. If he's leaning into it, the knuckles are white, we're going to run. Well, the thing is, though, if they're pass blocking, a lot of times they're almost up on their knees anyway. But I had read that too. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, reading our tackles is simple as waiting for them to false start. Fred's just he needs the mic and needs to be on stage tonight. He's feeling it. Let's see. The volleyball players are, I think, about the highest NIL paid group in the country, so you don't have to worry about them. I understand the sentiment though. It'd be nice. It feels like, they're getting a little more bang for the NIL buck there. But the thing is, it's like the advertisers just care if they're getting bang for their NIL buck. If you've gone to a home game, if you're walking to the field, you probably see this is still my favorite is the polar bear has like a local menswear billboard where he's just looking dapper in like this kind of ice blue suit. And yeah, I like the polar bears picture. Let's see. Tell you what, let's jump in and talk about UCLA a little. Here's to me, and I did the halftime and postgame recaps for that. The halftime, I said, hey, well, I kind of got it right. It's like, hey, we're not out of this, but it don't look good. So his score was only 13-7. The yardage was a 248-71 advantage for UCLA. And they go and score on 3 straight drives. We stopped them on their 4th for the first half, and then they go to a pick 6 to start the second half. And so then we get the ball, and then they get the ball and score 48-yard touchdown. But after those first 3 drives, we did force them to punt 5 out of 6 times. Now on our side, we would have had 4 straight 3-and-outs for the first half. We had 3 of them, and we had been stopped on 3rd and long. And then you had your first of 3 UCLA taunting penalties. And so we get New Life, get a first down, hit Ja'Cory Barney deep for 27. I think hit was that the one hit Nair for 8, or am I thinking no? Or is that the one where we hit Ja'Cory for maybe 40 or so on that one? But yeah, hit a bomb to Ja'Cory, got it in. It was 10-7. You know, they marched down to make it 13-7. But most of that first half, I mean, they held it 18 of the first 20 minutes or something like that. It wasn't pretty, and it took the wind out of the fans' sails hard. I can tell you from being in the crowd. How to put it? It wasn't good. And one person I saw when I got upstairs at halftime and started getting into our tweets, one person had tweeted out about how the fans were losing it for the players, and and here they've got to keep it up. And somebody who was from another school, I think, responded and went, "Are you kidding me? It's like you talk. This fan base was in the game hard for about 2 drives, and they just watch them get rolled, for well into the second quarter." He says, "What do you want from these poor fans?" He goes, God, I wish I could remember where he was from. He was like, "I haven't seen a fan base stick behind a team throwing so much disappointment at them since I don't know when." It's like, and you have the gall to blame them because they can't. I mean, we've never been the loudest fans in the country. Some of the former players have said that most don't want to for fear of angering old Charlie, who's in most games is just his battle cry is down in front. I can't see. And we get it up for 1 or 2 games. I felt like we've come out pretty hard. They want it this year, and yes, Wisconsin's the last home game. It's going to be interesting. I think we'll show up for that game because it's Wisconsin, and we beat them once since joining the Big Ten, and to stretch it out even more, the last time we beat them, although we barely played them after that, was 1973. And so we've only won 1 game against them since 1973. So maybe we'll get some hatred going there. But yeah, leave the fans alone. Holy crow. Anyhow, I got on a tangent there. The second half, new story. And Raiola in the first half goes like 3 of 10 for 47 yards. And then he catches fire in the second half. The team does. All of a sudden, they can't move the ball on us. We outgained them in the second half, 251-10. So we actually get 3 more yards on them in the second half than they got in the first half. And then Raiola, he goes 11-17 for 130. He was definitely crisper. They were finally picking up those all-out blitzes and giving him time to throw. On the horrid start, 3 of 10. Stinks, but there were so many times where I'm like, he barely has. He's getting not even all the way into his drop sometimes, and they're on him. Like he's taking 2 steps and then having to run. It wasn't easy, but nothing was working. So, but no, they get it going in the second half. And at one point, we're down 27-7 after that 48-yard touchdown pass. Where at one point, that was one where I just started kind of laughing because they're coming out of the break. They're playing Bleed It Out by Linkin Park, which, personal favorite of mine, but boom, boom, and bleed it out. And then one play later, we were bleeding out because they hit a 48-yard touchdown pass, and it's 27-7, and everybody's just like, we're done. And they got back in it. They fought back in it, and, of course, lost by a score. But anyway, we only rushed for 24 yards in the first half, 89 in the second. Now, here's 2 things that I probably did it on the show. I barked about it in columns, so I don't remember exactly where I do it. I remember on the show I said, "Hey, Ja'Cory Barney is averaging 6.7 yards a catch. This is one of the fastest guys we got, maybe our fastest receiver, and we're using him as a possession and as a screen guy." And they did go deep to him. Thank you. And my other thing was, hey, throw it. Like I said, Dylan Raiola, let the guy throw inside the 10. Touchdown. How amazing is that? And and I talked about 5 out of 6 on 3 and out. So let me check some of your comments on that UCLA game. Yeah, tale of 2 halves. It was the worst of the Huskers, of both bad Huskers. And now the thing about the Huskers the last few years is the blowouts were going away. You had the Michigan one, might have had an excuse for that, but then the Indiana one kind of took us like, whoa, what? Didn't see that one coming. Yeah, they're undefeated, but we were like the first, real team they played, for lack of a better word. And they just blew us off the map. So we got that team in the first half. We got the team that Indiana blew off the map. And then in the second half, we got the team that scraps, fights back, and loses by how many scores? Yeah, one score. So let's see what folks thought about that. Well, I know what they said, but let's see if we can add some of the profanity. All right, here we go. Let's see. So vanilla, where are we at? Oh, new comments. Here we go. Yeah, Satterfield, Alan Saunders says Satterfield isn't being fired, but being pushed aside now. The writing is on the wall. Maybe he already knows he's dead man walking. I'm not sure if I'm buying. He's already leaving. Going to leave or send the family out and sell the house and all that. But yeah, the phrase I used was, "There's the first nail in his coffin." Then everybody goes, "That's the last nail." I'm like, "Meh." For me, the last nail is when he gets, what happens right after he gets told, "Hey, coach wants to see you in his office with the athletic director." That's, to me, that's the final nail, because that's literally you're now not just dead man walking, you are in the box. So that's I popped that up there because he agrees with me. That's 100% how I saw it. This is the writings on the wall. That I felt like they were getting the box sized when after the first season, it's like, well, no more quarterbacks for you. You get tight ends, and you're getting a co-coordinator, and he's going to take the quarterbacks from you. I think that was sign one. And they got Glenn Thomas after the Holgerson thing didn't pan out. So that's why I wonder if he was trying to get Holgerson for co-coordinator, and that would have been a weird optic with trying to consider Satterfield and Holgerson on the same page, offensive mindedly. No, and then I think Melissa Getchell, we can throw this in here. As of right now, how many guys do we have getting drafted and who? I would say right now, I'd say Ty and Nash, Tom. Yeah. James Boardman goes, Tommy, he said this too. Tommy might slide because of injury. I'm not seeing it for Nayor or Banks at this point. They're solid, but they're not game breakers. I don't really see that. Fedona, I believe, has one more year. He's a possibility just for size and speed. They'll take him for the measurements and who knows, maybe in getting in an offense where they're not trying to throw like behind the line screens to a 260 pounder. Try to think who else just for this year. That might be about it. I know that Rule has often used John Bullock's name as an NFL possibility. I just don't know if he's got the size. Now his play, I think he has been arguably he's been their best linebacker and their best guy not playing on the defensive line. Now he's also former walk-on, 190 out of high school, playing his 6th year. So I don't know, probably 23 or so. Or is that going to be too small, too old? I don't know that he gets a combine invite, but I would hope he gets a workout look. That probably doesn't play as well for guys like him as it does for offensive skill players. I hope he gets a chance. Let's find out and see. But no, I think we're talking right now Ty and Nash. Fred Sacco, I'd easily have said Nash, but this year he's kind of fallen off. I don't know that he's fallen off so much as they've been clogging it up just because he's not. You don't need to get the numbers to be doing the job as a defensive tackle. They just can't be blowing through you. And now that's happened in 2 games, I think, Indiana and Illinois late in the game. But other than that, I think he's still fine. We'll see. I would hope we get at least one of the two. A former Husker, I think he was a Frost player, said something about the fans not being into it. But at some point, the team needs to do something to make us cheer. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, I think of Michael J. Fox here on election night, and thank you people for not, by the way, putting election comments in there. This is a safe place tonight. But there's this part where Michael J. Fox is trying to get Michael Douglas, the president, to get in there and start fighting for the political battles they think needs fighting. And he uses this line that people want leadership. It's like they're so thirsty for it, they'll cross the desert, and if they can't find water, they'll eat the sand. And I think we've been eating a lot of sand and still trying to call it water for a while. They do anything mildly good, the fans are still there. But yeah, it's I don't know. When I remember somebody asking, what are you going to do when that sixth wind happens? And I try to say, like, I don't really know. I try not to think about it because I'm going to be so goofily happy. It could be one of those, hey, little dusty here in the room over a sixth win. That could, just, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's what I think of as Michael J. Fox's, they're so desperate for it, they'll drink the sand. Dylan is a true freshman, yes, but he has to play better. He is a starter, got to play better. Now he throws interceptions instead of touchdowns. He can legitimately lose the starting job on performance. Somewhat, I don't think he can lose the job without being injured. And he is okay. It sounds like he'll be fine to go. But yeah, if you saw Harburg in there, you realize that there's still no answer backup yet. There's just not. He scrambled for one. He had the fourth down pass, but he also he ran out of bounds for a 3-yard loss, not under really any particular pressure, had all day to throw it away. He threw that little 5-yarder to Fedone inbounds, and it was just like, and threw an interception himself. I didn't feel like it was quite heave it down the field time, but God bless him. I love that he's sticking it out, is showing no indication of wanting to leave no matter what. I honestly wish they'd get him in a few more packages as a receiver. A receiver, or run jet sweeps with him. He is a powerful runner if you let him power guys downfield. Not against linemen, he's not. But get him downfield against linebackers and defensive backs, sure. But use his speed. He is literally miles per hour the fastest player on the team. Which they said they do the top end, not necessarily the 40 time, but the top end speed. So I want to see more of him and not worry so much about him getting hurt. We're down to 3 games left, so if he's hurt and Royal is hurt, you can play Danny Kalen and all of those and let him get some experience. And what's probably, I don't know, you're still going for that 6th win, but if you're down to your 3rd string quarterback, I call that a nice place to get some pressure experience. I don't think it's a pressure-filled situation. I'm probably saying it wrong, but I know how it is in my head. Let's see. I don't know why we're not talking more about I just did. Talking about the clock management, the amount of time that we lost by walking to the line and not being prepared to run a play was crazy. Yep. And somebody said, hey, they should have a package in there for Harburg. And my response was, but it's under 2 minutes to go and 75 yards to go, whatever. He's got to run the package everybody else does in that situation. You can't have the running Harburg offense in that situation. If he ever has to play, sure. I don't expect that to be all Harburg drop back. You know what I mean? They were snapping the ball 2 seconds left when they needed to be, and they needed to be doing that before it was the final drive too. I agree. I guess they were like erring on the side of caution, make sure you got it right. And that's always been my problem this year, especially with just start running the ball in the second half predictably whenever you've got a lead that we were doing. You've got to take chances. You've got to go for the throat. It doesn't mean take stupid chances. Take chances all the time, but it's called risk and reward for a reason. It's not called do nothing and be predictable and reward. It's risk and reward. Burnt World. Okay, here we go. Just want to voice my support for the football team and all involved. Come on, people. We are the best fans in the world. Be tough, be supportive, go Big Red. I like that. I like that sentiment. My thing is, support doesn't mean blindly pretending everything's okay. We've been not just Burnt World. This is not directed with you at all, because you said, hey, and we're the best fans in the world. They got rid of that little thing on the gate, right? Behind these gates are the best fans in college football. That always made me, if if I'm looking at that from the outside, you're not being the best fans in the world if there's a sign like that on your stadium. You're being the most ego-filled fans in the world. I think in general we're pretty damn good, having been around some other fan bases that lose their minds over way less than what we lose our minds over. But yeah, always support the players. I always try to say when I'm writing these up and talking about it now, and to me, them getting some money is also another reason. Hey, you're definitely not these amateur kids. You're getting paid for playing football. I've always said I don't mind criticism for players. As a player in high school, at a much lower level, but never minded criticism. If you're out there playing, you take the bad with the good. I try not to take cheap shots. I try not to mock the players about it. Doesn't mean that if you stunk it up that I'm not going to say, and they stunk it up. And hopefully I'm going to say how, not just be the guy sitting at the end of the bar, or the guy raging, Dylan, he's a fat, lazy bum. And it's like, yeah, he's one of the hardest working guys on the team by the team's own admission, and usually beats everybody to the weight room in the morning, including coaches. But okay. Stuff like that. I don't want to be ridiculous. And I try to give the credit where it's due. And if something's wrong, I try to say, and here's what I see as having gone wrong. Now, I'm not a coach. They probably know better than me, but I've got an opinion, and I feel like it's been pretty well formed over many, many years following the game. Then for like the last 15 writing about the game. I always say, it's like, if I made a bad call or a bad guess, you can go on the internet and throw that right back in my face all you want. Anyway, good one, Burnt World. I like the sentiment, and I'm behind it. Let's see. If we didn't get the unsportsmanlike penalties, we would have most likely gotten smoked. You know what I'll say on that as well, though, Fred, is I think the unsportsmanlike penalties were just an example about how they were maybe a little overzealous, but definitely the more fired up team. And it got the better of them a few times. So I like that we haven't been getting that, but maybe we need one or two get in those scuffles a little and let them know we're here to play, and we're not going to be pushed around either. It's a fine line. I'm not telling you when to do it, but man, they seem like the much hungrier team. What else we got here? Let's delete that. If I see any of the political stuff up there, I'm probably just going to delete it, so you can save the trouble. Bad as the offense was, it's still frustrating to see UCLA have their way on our vaunted defense like they've been roofied up on O Street. But one thing I noticed, that was the second week in a row that their quarterback had torn it up. He became, I think, the seventh UCLA quarterback to have over 80% completions in a game last week. I think did he end up under it? But he started out something like 11 of 11 or 12 of 12. So this is 2 weeks in a row he's been hot. There were some red flags that maybe they should have taken him a little more seriously. Who knows? Yeah. Melissa says, we were talking about Nash. He's been double teamed. Yeah. He was seeing a lot more of the double teams this year for sure. And here's Fred. Love to get to a bowl, but I won't get misty-eyed over 6W. I might. I admit it, just to at least get there's been the last 2 years, and this is what it drove me nuts last year. It's driven me nuts this year, is we get off to a little bit of a run or a hot start, and all of a sudden we've forgotten about that bowl game. Oh, that's a given. And last year it was every week. It felt like after we started off like 2-1 or 1-2 more after losing to Minnesota, and every week it was like, oh, here's our path to the Big Ten championship game. We're going to win the West. What? We haven't even gotten our sixth win yet this year. I know that Herbstreit said it, but it wasn't the first time I'd heard it. I'm looking at our schedule. We could be 7-0 by the time we play Ohio State. It's like, I'd love to be 7-0 when we played Ohio State. I'd settle for 6-1, but nope, 5-2. Now 5-3. Now 5-4, and I just want number 6. At some point, even after, hey, look at how we did against Ohio State. If we went out and win 9 games, we can go to a New Year's Day Bowl. Why? Why are you saying these things? Oh my God! This is why it's just 6. Once we get that 6th win, then all our other dreams can come through. Now this was one that cracked me up. Where is it? Fred, I know I'm doing a lot of Fred tonight, but Fred's kind of knocking it out of the park tonight. I love Bill because I thought of this. I love Bill Walsh Satterfield's throwback pass to Raiola that he then threw for a 9-yard gain. Fucking poetry. Yeah, that was, I think it was even 9, it was 8, 9, whatever. Yeah, I was just like, well, that's a lot of trickery and stuff to, show the other team for an 8, 9-yard gain. I guess it was a 9-yard game. Let's take what we can get. Yeah, and here we go. At least Rule's willing to make changes. Wonder if TD was involved, and if there isn't bad blood. Who's TD? Is that TO? Supposed to be. Anyway, I don't know. But I do. Yeah, I love the fact he likes to make changes. The difference between Raiola and HH is that HH is now more battle hardened and isn't scared into check down purgatory. You can see the difference on Saturday. Well, Harburg was 2 of 7 for 32 yards, so I didn't see that much of the difference. Yeah, we know Dylan's playing against USC. Yeah, Tiger Shark, hard to say, and I kind of hope not. I wish Rule could see this deficiency without being pushed to reevaluate it. I'm thinking he saw this on his own. He's he's in more, in a few other instances shown he's not going to throw players under the bus publicly. I always hate those coaches that go, well, it didn't work because we didn't execute. I think Satterfield might have done that, to be honest. And but no, it's not their fault. It's like, but you just kind of said it was. Oh geez. The Huskers haven't played a complete game this year. They've only been good for a half. I think they get it done in one of these 3 games. I hope so, but I'm honestly to the point where I am cheering for them. I hope they get it done. The belief they're going to get it done, I'm really only going to have when they get it done. Right now it's just looking silly of me to pick them to win these games. They are now under Rule now. They're now 0-7 in bowl eligibility games. Get that 6th win games. That's 5-3 at one point before it started, and 5-1 this time after. So yeah, that's not pretty. Let's see. Fred with a Camp Kenosha joke. I hate Northwestern too. Oh brother. Not counting Colorado, what is Nebraska's best win? I mean, Rutgers is just, what did Rutgers do Saturday? Or did they have a bye week? But they fell off a cliff after it's already been 4 weeks since that Rutgers game, and they've lost 4 in a row, including UCLA. That's been ugly. Fred said, I screamed things at the TV at the bar that made the bartender blush, and he looked like a guy who'd seen some shit. Geez. Fred, but HH threw downfield with conviction versus throwing for no yards. Oh, after his start, Dylan absolutely was throwing downfield with some conviction. And I mean, yeah, he finally found Ja'Cory Long. He 132nd half yards is something we'd take each time on 11 completions. So no, he wasn't. It was the Ohio State game, I think, where he had like 23 completions for 150 yards or something like that. That's like 90s NFL stuff. I used to joke that with Madden football, the NFL had become so like eye-bleeding boring to me, just with all the dump screens. I said that Madden football should be renamed NFL Dump Pass, 2003 or whatever. It was just hard to watch. And no, Dylan was throwing downfield once they got him some time to throw. The second half was fine. Here was the number that I hit in the article, and is the reason, quite frankly, we lost the game, is we moved the ball and then couldn't score. We had 2 drives that ended on downs in the second half, that the time of possession on those 2 drives totaled 21.5 minutes. like when they held it for 18 to 20 minutes, they got 13 points. We held it for 21 and a half minutes. Goose egg. Nothing. That to me is what lost the game. Everybody else got it back. It all came back together except for that. The defense got it together. The defense just gave up one score in the second half. The offense got it together. 251 second half yards. And I mean, 200 and like 5 of those under Raiola before he got hurt. Raiola. But we just petered out at the end. And I think that was on Satterfield. And there's a reason there's that the only hashtag more than hashtag like Go Big Red out there right now is probably hashtag fire Satterfield under Nebraska fans. Yeah, Rutgers went to pieces after we beat them. Though I think they'd suffered a lot of injuries. You know who else had suffered a lot of injuries? I put it in our pregame thing. UCLA had like 22 guys on the injury report. I mean, does everybody have that many and just doesn't tell anybody? I mean, that just was like eye-popping to me. I realize I don't think they lost any of their quality players. Their start. I don't know that they're how many. I think they had maybe 1 or 2 starters out by this point in the year. Who doesn't? But I couldn't believe that. Like, God, it's like the evil in me. If we could hurt a couple of them, they're kind of screwed. And I was thinking that that COVID game against, was it Minnesota, where they only had suited up like 45 players or something like that, and then still beat us. But yeah, Rutgers, man, they've just fallen off the damn cliff. Let's see. Melissa says my jersey gets taken off and slammed on the floor and gets kicked through the house. Well, this is and then Fred, the bartender and staff, told me politely that I'm crazy. Here's the beauty of doing all this stuff during the game now, like writing all the stuff, is because I didn't used to write during games. I used to just watch it, lose my mind, and then write a column on Tuesday. First of all, in the press box, you're really not allowed to yell and scream. During the Colorado game, some of our young Colorado visitors in the press box had to be told that more than once, that shut up, use your inside voice, and this is a press box. And then when I'm at the bar watching now, I'm basically taking notes each half and then banging out an article pregame, halftime, postgame. So that keeps me from screaming as much. And okay, I'll tell you this one story. the COVID Rutgers game. That was a Friday nighter. It was frustrating at times. Rutgers hung in there with us. We outgained them like 620 to 280, but only won 28-21. And on Friday night here, you have a bar packed with not necessarily people there for football. So you got a lot of the bitter folk being like, hey, I'm a Rutgers fan. I'm so mad at Nebraska. I'll cheer for Rutgers. Well, I'd been there for a few hours before kickoff, so I'm starting to mock the fake Rutgers fans. And then when Nebraska starts just motoring the ball, and even though it ends up close, it's pretty apparent Rutgers can't move the ball at all, so we're not real worried. And I started going, oh, where's all the fake Rutgers fans? And I'm watching it with a buddy of mine, Scott, and his girlfriend. And the next day I wake up with a little of that regret. Okay, I remember being a little fired up during that game. I wonder if I said anything that I should go apologize to anyone for it. I don't think I typically do that too much, but maybe there's times where I wake up. Now I've gotten, we won't even get into texting. When I checking my text day after games can have a lot of profanity, but usually that's to people who are expecting it. No. So anyway, I run into Scott like that Tuesday. And this is still because of Fred, the bartender and staff, told me politely that I'm crazy. And I was like, Scott, I was standing next to you guys and I was doing some hollering and said, was I getting like personal or getting in a pissing match with anybody or saying anything, that I probably shouldn't have? Because I said, I remember having a good time, but I felt like a couple times I was getting a little pissed. And he goes, no, man, you were fine. It was okay. It was fine. And I'm like, really? Good. I feel a lot better. And he goes, yeah. Come to think of it, you did use the word cocksucker really loud a lot. Well, I'll work on that. And he's like, I wasn't calling people and hear that. He goes, no. It was pretty much directed at the TV or just at the world in general. But yeah, so Fred, been there. done that, but not as much lately. Not as much lately. Let's see. UCLA, ton of injuries and a first-year staff still beats us. Ridiculous. Don't be surprised if they beat a few more people. I'm just saying. I like I said, I spent Thursday and Friday warning everybody, not knowing we'd straight up lose, but I said it's going to be close and it's us, so don't count on it. There's no reason you should count on anything close to a comfortable victory for that 6th win. That's just not our style now, is to let the fans enjoy. Fred says he's not taking a notepad to the bar. I'll throw it at someone. Neither do I, Fred. I take my laptop. I'm not throwing my laptop at anybody. I mean, I'm sitting there with a glass full of with a heavy glass full of ice and liquid. I figure if I throw that at anybody, if I want to do damage, that'll do a hell of a lot more than a stupid notepad. Come on, y'all. Pit Snipe is here. Hey, sorry I got detained. Have you schmeckles fixed football yet? We don't fix anything. We just tell everybody what's wrong with their shit. Let's see. Yeah, Fred tells Pitt we've got it all sorted. Yeah, I said that over and over. UCLA #1 schedule in the country. I mean, that's what I was just saying. All their horrible stats, like their average rushing yards per carry, their quarterback throwing more interceptions. They faced 4 really good defenses from top 10 teams, 3 top 10 teams, and 1 team just outside. Absolutely. All right, let's have that Holgerson conversation a little. I'm going to give you a little background on Fred. Let me pop up. I just popped up, copied off his the Wikipedia showing his history. Now here's the thing: Dana's an Iowa boy. He was born and grew up in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. Played college football at Iowa Wesleyan, where he was a wide receiver, and I believe they said he's like 7th in their Iowa Wesleyan's receptions and yards receiving. So good. Hold on. I just want you to know, guys, I'm always there drinking with you now. I'm still ashamed of that night. Hey, maybe put in the comments what everybody's enjoying, what kind of pollutants everybody's enjoying tonight. But known for his offense. Okay, plays at Wesleyan. Now, he then goes at Iowa Wesleyan, he plays for Hal Mumme, who he then immediately after graduating, Hal Mumme gets hired by Valdosta State, where he started. He's considered one of the fathers of the air raid, if you don't know the name Hal Mumme. Holgerson goes and coaches for him at Valdosta State, coaching QBs, wide receivers, special teams, whatever. It's Valdosta State. They're probably in 93 to 95. I don't know if they've got a position coach for every position. Goes on to Mississippi College, Wingate, where he's a position coach. And then 2000 gets hired by Texas Tech, where he starts off as their wide receiver coach. They figure out where he came from. And I believe Hal Mumme might have had a stop at Texas Tech as well. And then he becomes a co-offensive coordinator before full-time offensive coordinator. He's there from 2000 to 2007, goes to Houston, where they're just like #1 in the country in offense. I think his offense is just consistently top 5. 2008 or 8 and 9, he's offensive coordinator at Houston. 2010 at Oklahoma State, where they're like #4 in the country. Who's the receiver? Michael Crabtree. Crabtree was still Texas Tech. But then he goes to Okie State. They average like 540 yards a game. And then one of the questions people have is, great, are we going air raid now? Well, at Okie State, where they'd average, I think, 550 yards a game and 350 of it was passing, and then 180 of it was rushing a game. So he was running the ball as well. But I don't think anybody's going to think we're all air raid if we're out there running for close to 200 yards a game. Then he becomes a head coach for 5 years at Houston, previous 7-8 years at West Virginia, and then he gets fired at Houston. As a head coach, he had a 92-69 record. Still had nice offenses. Then I didn't get real deep into why he was fired. Let's see, coach. Oh, and you know who else coached for Hal Mumme was Mike Leach. Here's Hal Mumme's coaching tree. Like I said, if you're a freak about the game, you know the Hal Mummy name, but he under his coaching tree was Holgerson, Mike Leach, Sonny Dykes, Art Briles, Cliff Kingsbury, Ruffin McNeil, and oddly enough, defensive specialist Will Muschamp learned a little offense from coaching for Hal Mummy. So anyway, there's your. Let me get rid of this one too. But there's your history on Dana Holgorson. What else? I think I covered. There's a few other things we talked about. How he discussed the job with Matt Rule over the summer. Nice to see that Matt Rule doesn't want to ride Satterfield into the ground at the expense of the program. And I also felt when it comes to not on the Cosgrove level, but I always felt that maybe Bo let John Papuchis ride him into the ground a little, because Papuchis was just such a drop off from Carl Pelini, who was a fantastic defensive coordinator, I thought. And then you get Papuchis, who he becomes a D1 linebackers coach under Pelini after being a grad assistant at LSU and not yet having a job. And then he makes him his defensive coordinator after he's been a linebackers coach for 3 years. And it didn't really go well. I mean, he was the defensive coordinator behind the infamous Melvin Gordon game and a few other meltdowns, not on the Cosgrovian level, but it still wasn't great. Let's put it that way. Anyhow. So anyway, yeah, let's see what the thoughts, everybody else's thoughts on getting Holgerson are. Like I said, it feels to me like this move is I'm bringing in next year's defensive coordinator now, because otherwise, I don't know. Like I said, maybe the guy just wants to, get that $200,000 consultant salary while still getting paid by Houston, but then he gets to keep his toe dipped in the game. But gosh, it's like, do you really just, especially at the timing? That's the thing. Now, when they're talking about it over the summer, okay, maybe it is just true consultant. This doesn't feel like consultant. This feels like the guy who, if we can win one more game, will be calling the plays in that bowl game. Now, can you completely flip the offense in 2 weeks for USC and in under a month to get it at least mixed up enough? Like, I have a feeling right now what he might have is Satterfield's book, memorizing that thing as we speak, and just seeing if maybe I can come up with some better ways, some better plays to call, riskier plays, call plays. Here's how you put it: call plays in such a way that defenses can't be settled about us like they are now. They're not too frightened about what wrinkles we're going to throw at them. And, and even after our second half comeback of, half of a 500-yard game, we still just had 320 for the game. About same as we did against Ohio State. Would have expected more against UCLA, especially. And again, maybe it's the number that got skewed against some good passing teams, but they are last in the country in pass defense. We shouldn't have been, even with that schedule. That's where the blitzing getting to us and the horrible start by Raiola getting to us. Dire kind of still has me growling at myself a little. Okay, let's see what comments we got. I did ask for what everybody's drinking. Fred finished a bottle of Sicilian red wine. He started at 5 p.m. with dinner, now hitting on 8% whatever winter spice beer by White Elm. That a boy, Fred. Let's see. That Okie steam wasn't total aired out. Had some good runners. It did. It was a 300-yard plus game passing offense, but they ran at you too. Pit Snipe was too lazy to fetch liquor today. Oh, and here I thought maybe you had some chewables around the house. Reeves, he says, I have a whole cache ready for a long winter. The hardest job on that Okie State was keeping Blackman out of jail. Hey, how do you expect Mike Gundy to do that, man? He's a man. He's 40. Cliff Kingsbury is available. Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury is available too. I thought he'd hooked on somewhere as somebody's OC. If somebody can Google that, let me know. Bowen Papuchis, also with Beck, stupidly stubborn. Well, I thought Beck was Vanderbilt's offensive coordinator now for that Bama win. Beck, I never minded. The guy that drove me nuts, who was the guy before Beck, who was obsessed with the balanced offense, shit. Because he was one that somebody put it great. This is a guy that would rather run for 100 and pass for 100 than run for 400 and pass for 50, or vice versa. It's like he's just so obsessed with that balanced offense. And I think it was that time we finally were going to win the Big 12 title. We played Oklahoma. Roy Halu goes bananas in the first quarter, part of the second quarter, and then all of a sudden we go like throw 8 passes in a row with Martinez or something, and maybe 2 complete. Oklahoma gets back in the game and wins because suddenly we can't turn the run game on anymore. Yeah, Beck was also the one that didn't think we needed Joe Burrow. Now, here's where I give everybody a pass on Joe Burrow. Was he wasn't like a drop everything recruit, good recruit, and he went here, and that was the first time around. Then in the transfer time around, this is where I really give us a pass, is that before Burrow announced he was transferring and wanted to come here, we'd already gotten the commitment from Martinez. I think Frost talked to Burrow, but it was, since there wasn't a pathway to starting, it just didn't look like the place you want to go if you're transferring, and he wasn't going to toss Adrian aside. Now, a year later, Burrow's gone through his first season at LSU, and it's not a great season. It's a people get fired kind of season because the offense was so bad. And then they bring in Joe Brady, and the rest was history there. But the thing was, while he was having a super average season, Adrian was getting raves about his season and was actually getting top 5 Heisman love for prior to his sophomore season. So after that first season, it looked like we'd done the right thing. Then 5,500 passing yards and 50 touchdowns later. Oh well, I think it worked out well for Joe Burrow, because I don't think he turns into that quarterback here. He wouldn't have had Jefferson and Chase here, that's for sure. Let's see. I'd be happier with whatever Holgerson runs than Sat. Yeah, you don't have the fan base behind you as the coordinator when they brought in the new consultant. They're like, fuck it, I'll take him. What's he gonna do? I don't know, but it's got to be better. Here's a little 70s, 80s TV humor for you. I'd be happy with Dana Holgorson. Hell, I'd take Dana Plato at this point. What's happening? No, that wasn't what's happening. That was shit. The one with Gary Coleman. Dana Carvey. Here we go. Dana Husker Bob says Dana Carvey could play a better OC than Sats. Sean Watson. That was him. Thank you, Fred. Sean Watson, Mr. Balance. I'd take Beck over Watson, and like everything else, Beck's done the job and maybe just become better at it. I don't know. Let's see. I thought Kingsbury is OC for the Commanders. That might be right. That sounds right. I thought somebody had snapped him up as an OC. Beck was an idiot too, complained we had too many weapons on offense. I think they just need to, between that and I want to gain 4 to 6 yards of play, maybe just not let offensive coordinators do press conferences. Didn't Holgerson have a few? I think he had a few spicy press conferences of his own where he said things that he wished he didn't say. Just announced, no more pressers. Clay. Yep, we got confirmation, I'm sure, through Google or Washington Commanders and an arena team. Not this year. They got LSU rookie quarterback Jaden Daniels, who's like one of the top 3 fantasy football quarterbacks this year. Turns out doing a pretty good job, and they got some pretty good weapons in that offense. That Washington offense, I believe, because I'm not a big NFL guy, but I believe I've bumped into articles where they've had a few score at will games. So, Burnt World Beck. Wow, the last coach and only till Sat I ever called for his job on radio, then had remorse when he got canned. Yeah, see, Beck was one of those where it was like, oh God, I think there's better out there, but I don't think he's that bad. I don't remember complaining about play calling a lot with Beck, where I'm just like, we all know that's coming. I always thought he kept it mixed up fairly decently. Fred Sacco with another. Okay, different strokes, not to be confused with Camp Kenosha. Another shout out to the naked and creepy Northwestern Wildcats. Still waiting to see how that plays out. Apparently, with the players, it's going to play out that every player involved is going to get to, unless they quietly dumped a bunch of them and nobody noticed, which I don't think they did. Apparently, all the players who did that crap are just going to get to skate it out and be out of school, and then who cares? I just wonder if certain coaches and the school, for lack of oversight, is going to catch a little hell. I think that's why Holgerson got whacked at Houston, because he didn't get along with the AD and administration. Is Houston the place, or is it West Virginia where where he didn't get along with the AD, and the AD literally got caught? Like, I think a reporter admitted that the AD tried to get him to like shit on him in the press. That's how bad that relationship was. His own AD was trying to have the press say shitty things about him so he could fire him for cause and turn the fans against him and all that. I think Beck was not great, but also he was probably hamstrung by Bo. I think there was that a little, because Bo, that was the real strange part about Bo putting Papuchis in charge of the D with as little experiences he had. Bo was like supposedly kind of letting Papuchis off on his own while wanting to work with Beck on the offense. So I don't know. Oh, Fred, I thought Holgerson had said some shit about the AD at Houston too, and that caused it. So it's probably Houston then. Who cares? Hire him, rule. Yeah, he's not going to be the head coach. Okay, we did. It's the Peter principle again. Did we talk about that here last week? Where the Peter principle being you will be promoted to your greatest level of incompetence. And I think that happens to a lot of guys that are born to be coordinators, that have found their specialty. Like Frost may be an example, except he had success at head coach, and then who knows if it was a Nebraska curse. I don't know. We may never find out if he gets to head coach again. But here was the guy who'd been a offensive coordinator, a college offensive coordinator, a college defensive coordinator, got to Oregon, focused on the offensive coordinator, and was really good. Before he came to Nebraska, there's a guy, God, I wish I could remember his name, but his specialty was rating the whoever's calling the plays, whether it's the coordinator or the head coach playing that role. And he based the rating on how predictable, just like use a computer to figure out how predictable their play calling was. And Frost, like 2 years of that, finished number one in the country, as in his plays can't be predicted. He is the least predictable guy out there, and by a margin. Well, it's one thing to do that at Oregon, then he got at Nebraska with some limited skill sets and resources, and suddenly there's less to have to predict. But that's what I'm talking about. I think Holgerson's a fantastic. He was a decent head coach, had a winning record at schools, not necessarily going 12-0 every year, 10-1, 10-2. Now Houston, he actually had, I think, 3 decent years at Houston, won 10 or 11 games there, maybe his first year. And of course, that was in the AAC. Then he goes to the Big 12, and Houston's 4-8, and they're not a juggernaut in the Big 12 like they were in a mid-major. And at that point, maybe there it is. There's that losing record, empty the clip, and who knows? That's I could see that. I'll probably read a little up on that after I get done here. Anyway, well, let's see. Tell you what, we're at about the hour and a half mark, so we can get you out of here at a reasonable hour. Now, here's one thing I kind of want to finish up. Oh, you know what? The kids were texting, and I thought I'd do some embarrassing here. Oh, they were just talking politics shit. And then, oh yeah, here's my young son, the professional meteorologist, and hey, Dad, show him this shirt. That's my boy. Well, any awful sense of humor they got it from me. But hey, here's the thing: since we're a sports drinking show, we're not called the happy hour because we have joy in our lives, for God's sake. There's a fine website. It's hilarious. If you enjoy drinking and don't find it something that anytime someone takes so much as a sip, they're going to wreck cars and kill neighbors and all that, there's a website for you called Modern Drunkard. I believe it used to be called like Modern Drunkard Magazine online. It's Modern Drunkard. It's got some wonderful writers. It's just at drunkard.com. Simple to remember. And they have this old article that's still one of my favorites of all time. And I think maybe we should read one of these to close each show. And you can decide if this is funny or not. It's called the 40 Things Every Drunkard Should Do Before He Dies. And I'll just read a little of the intro, not the whole thing. But each culture, of course, has a different idea as to what rates as an accomplishment. Muslims, for example, put a tremendous amount of stock into making a pilgrimage to Mecca, while generations of Frenchmen have taken great pride in not tripping over their discarded rifles whilst fleeing from the Germans. He does say, I think it is a sad sign of the times in this age of entrenched nannyism and political correctness. A person is more likely to be judged by what he refrained from doing than what he actually did. It's no longer important that you climb the mountain, but rather how many boulders you didn't accidentally dislodge and let roll down on the less daring hunkered in the valley below. Fortunately, imbibers have historically been immune to popular opinion, so hence this list. If you manage all 40 of these before you take a bar stool at St. Peter's Pearly Gate Lounge, you may feel secure in the fact that you've lived a rich and full life, even if only the boys and girls down at happy hour think so. And when happy hour, right? It's the happy hour. And when you do belly up to that big open bar in the sky and the bartender asks, what sort of life did you lead, son? You can look him right in the eye, or daughter. You can look him right in the eye and say, Pete, baby, I'm glad this is eternity because I've got a hell of a lot of stories to tell. And number one on that list is open and close a bar. Find one that opens its doors before noon. No cheating. Find what? Tiger Tom's before noon. Stake out a comfortable seat and hunker down. I have now done this 3 times in my life, all at Tiger Tom's. There's nothing better than a football Saturday. It's the easiest way to get it done. Be there for the doors will open at 10, kickoff at 11. If it's a Husker game, they'll open the doors about a half hour early. So you can watch a little pregame before 11 a.m. kickoff. And then you're just watching football all day. Simple, right? You're just watching some ball. So find one that opens its doors before noon, stake out a comfortable seat and hunker down. Resist informing the bartender of your tremendous plan. This one, write down. It works. As this will cause him to pour waves of pre-celebratory shots, and you will not survive happy hour. If the shots start flying in the afternoon, you're gone before dinner time. So no shots. Pacing is everything. Watch the crowds come and go. Watch bartenders rise, reign, and fade while you remain like a cagey Methuselah. From that day forward, within the walls of that bar at least, your name will be legend. Brother, it can be done. There's no better way. And especially like probably a non-Husker run. Although the first time I ever did it was that who was it? That Tennessee McNeese State game where Abdul Muhammad Amir Abdullah had that crazy play where he broke probably more tackles than Tommy Frazier against Florida and saved us from an overtime embarrassing loss, probably because that game looked like it was about to head for like overtime. And that was the kickoff, and beating McNeese State doesn't mean a lot of overjoyed drinking after that game. That's more of a game. All right. So yeah, if you want to open and close the bar, football Saturday, baby. And you heard it here. Let's see. That should do it for tonight. Melissa says, night, guys. Night, Melissa. Thanks for joining us, as always. Of course, Fred loved my son's begging for a pegging shirt. Yep, Fred. We got it, Fred. Boom. Let's see. Fred did it. Need to go to Tiger Tom's. It's just down the way. Yep. And like I said, if it's a road game and you go into Tiger Tom's and see the guy with the laptop, well, what it is, it's a nice iPad, and then I've got the Bluetooth keyboard. It's got a nice engine in it, and just really good for running around. You'll see me sitting on the east side of the bar with that thing popped open. Even for any reason I'm not on the east side, I'm likely the only guy with playing on a laptop during a football game. Come by and say hi, introduce yourself. It probably won't last long. Todd Wolverton of Coordination came up one day and said he just felt guilty because I'm trying to take notes. I don't need to be taking notes every second. They're just for helping me remember things when I'm trying to put together recaps. Come say howdy. Come meet the staff at Tigers. Great people, Great bar. Been going there for years. And that is all I've got tonight. Good crowd tonight. Joy as always. We'll be back next Tuesday. I'm not running away. I might try to sneak in some camping at some point, but not running away and only doing one podcast. We'll be back here next Tuesday to keep things rolling. We'll talk more about Southern Cal and the Maivia clan, The Rock and Jade and Maivia. Are they related? Important stuff like that. But anyway, wonderful night. Have a great rest of the night, and we will see you next Tuesday. And I won't forget it this time. As always, go Big Red. Go Big Red. Go Big freaking Red. Good night, everybody.